Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. Special shout out to Dr. Kim. Yes, Dr. Kim. And I've realized, by the way, I have quite a number of viewers from the Saudi Arabia. Yeah. So Saudi Arabia camp, asanteni sana for supporting our podcasts. Because here is where we try to package information in a manner that you cannot get anywhere else. So, something is very interesting today. Gladys Sholay, the Deputy Speaker in the National Assembly, over the weekend was having organized a medical camp in Uasin Gishu. And during that medical camp, while in that event, remember, it is a very common practice for politicians when they're speaking, especially to the population, they tend to defend government, especially those who are in government. So Gladys Sholay understood very well that one of the talking points, something that Mwananchi is talking about, is the cost of living. And the cost of living, one of the catalysts, one of the factors that will either shoot or rather that controls the cost of living is the cost of fuel, or rather energy. And so something got my attention. Gladys Sholay is saying that in the next few months, in the next few weeks, I think, Kenya is going to experience shortage of fuel. I don't have a problem with the fact that there is going to be shortage of fuel. Where I detected some, some games is saying that Kenya is going to have the shortage of fuel, and that is because of the fact that finance bill has been suspended in the court. Today we saw that actually that finance bill was suspended. Actually now taken to the it was taken now to the Supreme Court. And so I want you to get this keenly. In our government to government deal that we signed between Kenya and the oil exporting companies from Dubai, it is a 6 months program where we are importing oil, and we're going to pay, in fact, we're going to make the first installment of 70 billion in the month of September. And those who watched the previous podcast that I did on Sunday, I said that even people in the oil entrepreneurs in that sector, or other experts in that sector, are saying that we have a market glut, a situation where we have oil in this country, but the sales have gone down. The sales have gone down. In fact, there is another story that is going on, that small companies, filling stations are almost going to be closed because of the sales have gone down. So the oil, we already have a program. Is it true that the finance bill, the fact that the finance bill is suspended, we are not going to, is the reason for the shortage? First, we don't have a shortage. So it is white lie. But of course, it is a strategy of using something happening here to start blame games. I've always been saying something that I don't believe that Ruto does not know that the decisions that are coming from the courts, especially on the finance bill, are coming as a shocker even to him. I don't think. It's not. And if we are in a crisis, if finance bill is to create a crisis, then maybe we should not pay salaries, because if we did, we have a crisis. We are not in any sort of a crisis. But I want to tell you, reading from what Gladys Sholay is saying, there is something that she's trying to point out. She's trying to open the lid in terms of the finance bill, the way finance bill is, the suspension of the finance bill in the courts. Let me remind you about the very last reminders, guys. I think, so this fundraiser, it's happening. We're going to finish on Wednesday. So we are supporting this lady here. She was one of us here. We supported her last year, and I know many people might have interacted with her. Yeah, she suffered acute leukemia and passed on 26th. The burial is slated for 15th later on this week. But we were supporting the family and the child that has remained just towards the last expense and the welfare. And that's why I've pinned the number there for the last challenge. So thank you for those who purpose and those who are supporting. So I want us to get to this deal. Gladys Sholay is lying in public that we will have a fuel shortage because of finance bill. While we all know that we are importing oil in this country on credit. We will start paying after 6 months. That's one thing. Number two, we all know that we are importing oil in this country, and because the consumption has gone down by nearly 50%, what does that mean? What that means here is we have idle oil. And I think the thinking process, decision-making process amongst William Ruto's team is questionable. Now, I was, by the way, where's this place? Yes, I was, where's this? Oh, I want to get it. Around Gachagwa's office. Yes, somewhere there. And I met a gentleman who was a Chinese guy. I was told he was hawking, is it chocolate? I was tempted to think, is this guy even someone from the NIS is just collecting intelligence? Then, when we were having that conversation with some of the good friends, where they were like, that's what he does. So, what is happening here is this. If the fuel consumption goes down by 50%, tell me, are the filling stations going to employ more people? People are going to lose jobs. And those are some of the things we said. When you increase the taxes and people reduce consumption, you've also lost jobs. Wait and see. Now, there's that which government is targeting with the way they are seizing the activism, the suspension of the bill there. There's some 4 probabilities going on here. Number one, government is supposed to pay subsidy, oil subsidy, last year, and I remember it was budgeted for. But they might be realizing that if it's one of the most complicated sectors to understand is the energy sector, could be because of the pending bill questions, they are reading some signal that oil marketers could actually sabotage the industry. Yes. They can shut the industry. They've done it in the past. Against Uhuru Kenyatta, we understand Uhuru Kenyatta was one person that was really hands-on, especially in the energy sector. They could shut. But that is on light note. 3 objectives of this. Government is floating a narrative of a grand sabotage. And what they're simply saying here is that the finance bill the suspension of the finance bill by the courts is actually part of a wider plan to sabotage government. And the intention here is not for the masses or the citizens to understand that what is being contested is legality of some provisions in that finance bill. For example, I've picked 2. One is, Mtaani is arguing that there are some clauses in the finance bill that are touching on counties, but they were never taken to the Senate. And I've seen even the Senate Speaker Kingi writing, trying to recall a letter saying that they had settled the matter, while himself, he had complained to the Speaker of the National Assembly that there are clauses in the finance bill that are touching on the counties. They're supposed to be taken to the state and they were not taken there. So the government machineries do not want the legality, the constitutionality of the finance bill that is being questioned in the courts to prevail. So the whole thing, the masses should see it as a grand sabotage. That is what is the first intention. Number two, this is part of a making of a political narrative that Uhuru and Raila are behind my failure. Let me tell you, in politics, if there is a man that is sitting in a very precarious situation now is William Ruto. Why am I saying so? You campaigned with the hustler tag. 8 months in power, you've lost the hustler tag. After losing it, Kenyans now see you as a man who is not like, you're not like one of them. So, and for you to do vote mobilization, you must mobilize the votes on emotions, not logic. But then politicians will always want to manipulate the emotions. That is why there are still people that believe to date that William Ruto is a hustler, William Ruto aliteswa na Uhuru, William Ruto alifanya. There are still people that still believe, and you could see when they are explaining for you those things, they're emotionally attached. They will tell you, aliteswa, akafukuzwa, akasiyofukuzwa. You'll be told a lot of because they're emotionally manipulated. So, that emotional manipulation is what Ruto is demanding. It's trying to look at. When I failed in my first term, I will always tell these people that because I was a hustler and I got it and they didn't want hustler to get it, they realized they're the people that sabotage my power. Third, the Dubai deal, there is a team that was dispatched to Dubai to negotiate that deal. Could be that oil consignment. They have decided that because government is negotiating it down, government is negotiating that instead of starting to pay after 6 months, maybe that period can be adjusted. And the disadvantage of that here is the government will lose the economies of scale. Because I'm giving you credit, if you increase the repayment period, probably in business, I will say, if I was giving you 10 tons, let me give you 5. So they have also realized that G2G deal could be negotiated to a level where it is those who are exporting oil to us, demanding that we reduce the oil consignment. Thank you. You'll choose either to buy what the politician is saying or what exactly is the facts.